But then we also got to help our communities, and that was what really impacted us. Good morning, hello, we are Team A, Group A, whatever you want to call us. We are also known as Full Circle Sustainability. Today we are going to talk to you about our nonprofit organization. I am Marissa Baltadonis, and this is my team.
Amber.
Joe.
Ken.
And I'm Bryce.
So who, what, why, and how? Who we are Full Circle Sustainability. We're a nonprofit that provides basic human necessities like clothing to local nonprofits that support families in need. What we do, we provide basic human necessities such as clothing from local businesses and shops to local nonprofits in need of donations and help. Why we do it? We believe that everyone should have access to basic human necessities. Like according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is a physiological need. It is a basic requirement for life and moving up in the hierarchy of needs. It's like the base level. It's the very first level of the hierarchy of needs. And these needs need to be fulfilled to move up the ladder and also have security and I think it's motivation as well to move up the ladder. How do we fulfill our mission? We create relationships between local businesses and shops with nonprofits in need of donations and help. We accomplish this by leading teams of volunteers to create these partnerships between our nonprofit and shops and businesses in the nonprofit realm.
Our mission, Full Circle Sustainability creates lasting connections between local businesses and nonprofit organizations to better reach our diverse community of those in need. Our mission statement was written with our goals and our culture in mind.
All right, so here at Full Circle Sustainability, we have 5 positions within the organization. All of them work together closely to achieve our mission. As you can see in the pie chart, we have our organization operator as the piece that's kind of standing out from the rest because they are our CEO. So they are the person that's in charge of the entire organization. They are responsible for maintaining and overseeing all positions and operations in the organization. The second in charge is our donation coordinator. They are responsible for helping in the hiring process, and they are also the ones who are in charge of finding the other local organizations that we connect with in future endeavors. So we're looking for those companies that we can work with to create the connections between the shelters and the businesses or consignment shops or whatever we're working with. The next will be our delivery collector, who oversees all the donated items and is responsible for collecting donations, either from the items that are being brought to us and the items that we pick up. So if we have to go pick up items from these stores and stuff, they're the persons that either do it themselves or they somehow delegate it to individuals to get those items brought to us. Our donation specialists are next in our hierarchy, and they are the ones that work closely with the delivery collector because they are the ones that sort through all the donations, and they are the ones who create inventory lists of everything. So in our case, for Full Circle Sustainability, currently, the one that we worked with was a children's consignment shop, and we worked with children's clothing. So we actually went through and had a donation list that was created by essentially what our donation specialists would be working with. Lastly, our volunteers, right there in the corner, are one of the most important positions because they are the people that interact with the individuals in the shelter the most. Without our volunteers, we would have no organization to work for. Policies and rules. So here at Full Circle Sustainability, we have enacted several policies which are to be followed and adhered to at all times. These include our technology policy. It's for all team members because the need for safety and confidentiality in the shelter is paramount. For that reason, there will be no pictures on site and no documentation of anything that goes on in the shelters. So without consent from the shelters and the individuals who are actually inside the shelter, because it's for safety, security. People don't want their information or pictures or anything shared like you experienced. We also have an internet policy, which is for employees to ensure that all internet and computer usage is done for work and research purposes only. So no Facebook, nothing like that on the computers. We are also a drug-free organization, so we have a drug-free policy. That means we are committed to the health and safety of the individuals in the shelter and our employees, which means we have no drugs on site. All of our rules were created and are to be adhered to by all employees and volunteers. So our rules on safety and the well-being of our members and volunteers is our #1 priority. We are dedicated to safety, and we will offer safety trainings 4 times a year or more if necessary. So if we hire new people who don't know the safety procedures, they will have individual meetings about the safety procedures so that way they understand. Because things can get rough in the shelter. Another rule that we have is our dress code. And the dress code is for all employees and volunteers as well, which is just something really simple. It's just business casual, if that. It just means clean clothing, clean faces, and proper hygiene. So, no offensive odors, like perfumes, like really scented perfumes and stuff, because people can be really sensitive to that. And our delivery procedure. Our delivery procedure is coordinated between 2 organizations, the location doing the donating, and then the location that's receiving the donations. We act as the middleman. We're the connection between the 2 places. That's how our business is created, because we are the ones that are going in between the people to create connections between them, so that way when we step out, they are able to continue donating from one side and accepting the donations from the other side. So once we step out, they will be able to follow up with the businesses themselves for later pickups, disbursements, all of that.
When managers face problems in the work environment, there are limitless approaches to solving these problems. However, understanding the different managerial theories is really where you're going to see the difference and outcomes that you are looking for by applying these concepts. Today, we are going to talk about a couple of different theories, the stakeholders theory and the systems theory.
So the stakeholder theory specifically we felt really fitted with our company because of how we're nonprofit and really focused on the people we are helping. So the stakeholder theory states that a manager of a business is looking for the benefit of its stakeholders or those who are affected by its business, which would be the consumers, or in our case, the people we're helping, the employees of the company, the stockholders, which we do not have, or even in some occasions, the competitors themselves. So one way of this theory could be used to help our business would be when, as a nonprofit, we would be looking for any donation that we can get our hands on rather than what people are actually looking for. So specifically in the winter time when it gets to be September, October, and people are looking more for warmer clothes, and that's what homeless shelters are really looking for at that time, stores are more likely to donate their excess clothing, which is their summer clothes. But that's not what the shelters would be needing at that time. So by applying the stakeholder theory and actually going to the shelters ahead of time and asking what it is that they are specifically needing at that point of time, we can help support the people that we are helping, or that we can help the people in need rather than just donating.
Systems theory. This is one of the theories that helped us get a crucial pillar in the operations of full circle sustainability. In order to understand how it affected us and how it worked for us, we need to understand what systems theory is first. Systems theory is about inputs and outputs. and how those two crucial elements of systems theory are crucial to the operations and in the business flow of an organization. Inputs can be anything from materials, human involvement, or funding. Outputs can be anything from the products or services an organization or business may put out to the market sector. So for us, given that we are a middleman, or we act as a middleman for a donating organization and a receiving organization, two partners or multiple partners, our input was clothing from the children's store that we got. They were very generous to us. So that was our input, one of our inputs. Another one of our inputs was advising, and I would say that as group meetings, we discussed and we advised each other what could work, what could not work, what type of details we needed or elements we needed to make sure the process would work correctly, that we could deliver an output. As I've said before, funding is also another crucial element of systems theory. We did not, for full circle sustainability, we did not need funding. That was a benefit and less work with that. Human involvement, not only us as a team, us individually, but we also had the people who, from the donating organization, communicate with the management team, and we also communicated with the management team of the receiving organization, which is the Tacoma Rescue Mission we worked with. Output. As I've said before, our output is the clothing delivery that we delivered to the Tacoma Rescue Mission. And that basically sums up what system theory is. And in order for an organization to survive in its surrounding environment, we have to have a system like systems theory to take inputs into organization, refine it, make a product or service, and then output it into the overall market. And that's me.
So handling change. Change always happens in the business world. You have to always be prepared and ready for change. And we have 3 examples of change in full service sustainability and how we handle it. So handling a new workforce. Volunteers come and go as time goes by. People leave, people come, people have assignments, they need to do community service, whatnot. We take all those new volunteers and we try to incorporate them into the nonprofit, or more emphasis on that in a minute. New procedures. We can adopt new procedures at any time. We are a nonprofit. We can't always have the full amount of resources that we need. So we need to allocate our resources to best fit our outputs, like what Kenny said in our input. So we need to focus on our limited resources and use it to the best that we can. And then we also have new technology. Technology changes. We can go through technological advancement, new computers, new systems, anything like that. It can change at any time, and you have to be ready for it. So back to what we could do for a new workforce. Our leaders have a desire to grow new volunteers and create long-lasting relationships with those volunteers. They can come back at another time when they leave. When they leave, it doesn't mean that's the last time they're ever going to come back. And that's what part of our mission too. We create long-lasting relationships between businesses and nonprofits, and that also goes together with our volunteers. We create relationships with our volunteers. New procedures. It's important to recognize that new procedures are for the good of the nonprofit, not just the person that may be upset with it or whatnot. It's for the good of the whole nonprofit, the beneficiaries of the profit, other nonprofits we're working with, and the businesses that we're collecting donations and time from. New technology. Managers hold all volunteers accountable for any misuse or mishandling of new technology or technology in general, as per the policies that Marissa described. It is important to convey what our policies are to our volunteers. We can't assume they know everything. We need to explicitly tell them what our policy is, and if there's any punishment or reconciliation because of it.
Okay, I'm going to talk about our hiring process and recruitment for full circle sustainability. With our mission at the forefront of our recruitment, we do job postings on worksource.law and Indeed. We have created, or will create, profiles on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn so that we can connect with a broader circle of people. We want to reach out to every possible person that we can who could help our company fulfill our mission. Every applicant will go through the same process. Everybody's going to fill out an online application and they're going to submit their resume. After we have a selection of resumes, we can begin matching our qualified candidates with our mission so that we can really enrich our culture. This is how we keep our core values relative in our company so that everybody understands what is expected of them within the company. The next steps would be formal behavioral interviews. We'll be asking a series of questions about situations and how they handled that. With this, we can learn what types of skills and abilities they have and how they can bring those skills and abilities to our company to match our mission. We also want to make sure that we hire the right person the first time. This will prevent costly turnover because training and hiring costs a lot of money. One important aspect of our interview process is asking why the person has applied for this position. We want to understand that they know what our company is about and what our company is for, and by asking them that question, we can really match their engagement and determination with our mission for our company. Selection begins after the interviews. We do reference checks and background checks. After selection has started, we will begin orientation and training. That usually is going to start about 2 weeks after a job offer has been made. It's done on premises. During the orientation, they will receive a tour of the facilities, a copy of the employee handbook, and going over all the basic policies and procedures. They will also get to meet their team members and the supervisors and managers that are directly over them, and possibly the CEOs, just so they can meet everybody and so everybody's familiar with their faces. Included in our orientation and training will be diversity training. We want everybody to have compassion towards everybody in our company, not only our employees, but with our clients as well. So that is really important. It will also be a continued education. So every employee will go through another diversity training every 6 months or so, along with safety and those kind of trainings will be continued education throughout their employment. Every employee is expected to understand and abide by our multicultural mindset that we have. And finally, each of our trainees will be evaluated on their knowledge that they have learned through the training and will be required to meet certain expectations, at which point they can graduate from their training and become a regular employee.
Multiculturalism. We live in a very globalized, very diverse economy, and even global economy, for that matter. It's very interconnected, and on a personal note, it amazes me of how we take workers from other countries, and companies in the U.S. take those workers, hire them to help grow their companies and access new markets, or bigger markets for that matter. However, the big drawback with multicultural, it can add complications because people have different understandings, they have different backgrounds, they have different education in their culture. For example, there may be a certain word or some words that in their culture would mean one thing, but in our culture would mean an entirely different thing. So that adds a lot of complication. There's a lot of potential in it, but there's complication. And we will discuss of how we can address that complication. Diversity training. Given that people are from different backgrounds, we need to train not only management, but volunteer staff in how to acknowledge people come from different backgrounds, people learn differently, people may understand differently. And we need to make sure that everyone is on the same note, that we understand each other. Because when we understand each other, we can work together more effectively and efficiently for the better operation of our organization. Motivational speeches. One of the ways that this can be enacted is by using managers, top-level managers, to come down to the volunteer staff and talk about what does multicultural mean? What is the potential? What are the complications of multiculturalism? How can we come together as a team, as a group, and lead and pave the way? Living our personal values and aligning them to the business. We want to make sure our business operations, our organization, the way we function, aligns with the multiculturalism theme. We want to make sure our policies are in line with multiculturalism. We want to make sure our programs are in line with multiculturalism. As I've said before, we want to make sure our training is aligned with multiculturalism. And I was going to address that we need to make sure our job directions, our job duties align with multiculturalism, to make sure people understand what they are doing. Fourth, telephone line. This is kind of like where organization, businesses, even where I work, we have a telephone line it's anonymous, completely anonymous. If people do not feel like they're included, people don't like they're being felt respected, that they're feeling left out, they can go to our telephone line, our helpline, call the Human Resources Department. Then the Human Resources Department will give that over to top management, and if necessary, we will add more training or more clear training. We can develop more motivational speeches, and we will address it on the spot because we want to make sure everyone is included into this process so we can all grow and develop together. And from a personal note, I've actually had experience within this type of area. I have gone to DC multiple times. I had the honor to meet Congressman Adam Smith. I was a youth ambassador on behalf of the Tourette Association of America. And I can tell you, from going to DC, talking with legislative staff, being hired by the Boeing Corporation to speak at one of their conferences, going to TCC, speaking for that on a special needs day, and going to multiple schools in the classrooms and talking to classrooms about not making fun of each other, making sure we're including each other. Inclusion is the absolute pillar in multiculturalism. If people do not feel they're included and people do not feel like there's help, that they can grow and develop and learn and become better, multiculturalism is dead from the very start. And that's me.
So when we were given this assignment, we actually struggled a little bit trying to figure out what it is that we were actually capable of doing and being able to help our community. And it took a lot of trial and error, but we finally figured out that we wanted to become full circle sustainability. And so we decided that our goal and mission would be to connect, as already previously stated, would be to connect local nonprofits with local businesses and join them together for the benefit of the community. Since we are not big enough to actually do anything, we figured we'd connect the two people who are. So about 8 weeks ago, we set out to find a nonprofit that would be willing to help with us, or be willing to let us help them, to form a contract with a local business. We took us a little bit, but we finally found St. Francis House, which is it's a nonprofit that specializes in providing for families in need and for homeless shelters specifically. So then on top of that, once we found and connected with them, we needed to find a business that was willing to work with us as well, which is when we found the Children's Trading Post, which honestly is a little bit of a donation center itself. More kind of like, yes. So we talked with Sabrina and Cheyenne, who are two head people at the Children's Trading Post, and they were more than happy to help us and couldn't wait to see what they could give us to give to a nonprofit. Unfortunately though, once we established a connection with Children's Trading Post, we lost connection with St. Francis House. So we need to find another new nonprofit that would be willing to work with us, and we need to do it pretty quickly since the delivery was already about to happen. So once we were able to do that, we found the Tacoma Rescue Mission, which is a homeless shelter that helps people with food, clothing, and housing. once we talked with them, they loved what we were doing and were even more helpful than St. Francis House, and wanted to immediately set up a date where we could deliver the donations to them. So we then collected 16 boxes worth of clothing from the Children's Trading Post and decided that we wanted to inventory all of them. We found over 1,000 articles of clothing inside those boxes. So on November 12th, we went to the Tacoma Rescue Mission and delivered all the boxes and talked with the workers there. And they were more than happy with what we did, and were pretty much, they were ecstatic that we were able to help them the way we were. And then we finished the day with that kind of a victory selfie that we took in front of the sign, which was at the beginning of the PowerPoint.
So gratitude for our work. Gratitude for our work goes farther than our mission. It has a real and meaningful impact on the community and the people that operate the nonprofit, people that are in the business and have shops and businesses in the local area. As well, people are willing to donate their time and goods in order to help others, and they have a feeling of gratitude and impact when they help the community with their time and items. They're also grateful to have worked with us, and we were able to create long-lasting relationships and connections with nonprofits as well as businesses.
And the impact that this project had on us personally was that we got to think outside of the box on this, because like was mentioned, we had no idea what we were doing. We threw out like 4 or 5 different ideas before we settled on this one. We were truly touched by the impact that we had at the Tacoma Rescue Mission, and the fact that how many people that we were actually helping, specifically children in this case. But then we also got to help our community.